Okay, everybody, we're going to get going. It's 5:06. I'll note that here in council chambers, our tech is not working. We are hopeful. We believe that we are transmitting live out onto YouTube for those of you on YouTube land. And we will work our way through these tech issues as we're able. So please, everyone in the room, silence cell phones and other electronic devices. And I will note that it is 5:05 and I'll call the meeting to order. And I'll begin this evening by acknowledging that we are meeting on traditional territory of the Mississaugas. This land has a rich history and forms part of the Crawford Purchase of 1783. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous peoples and express our gratitude for the opportunity to live, work, and learn on this territory. We commit to honoring and respecting the land, its history, and its current stewards as we strive to strengthen our relationships with Indigenous communities and work toward right relations together. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council approve the June 2nd, 2025 Council agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Members of Council, have you any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. And there are none noted. First item is closed session matters. Should council choose to proceed into the closed session, we will not end the stream. What do we do? Okay, so you'll be, the people watching us will be aware that we're in closed session. We may have to end the closed session if we want to reboot the system. So if that happens, we will try again before we proceed again at or about 6:30 for the open session later on. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council resolve itself into closed session June 2nd, 2025 at 5:07 p.m. Pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act, R.S.O 2001 as amended. Subsection 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal and local board employees, human resources, update and encroachment of municipal property, and C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, land acquisitions and negotiations update. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Okay, friends, we have ended our closed session meeting. Before I provide a motion to rise and report, we're going to take a 20-minute recess until 6:30. The staff are going to try to reboot our system to get it running internally here in the council chambers. And so we'll see you all at 6:30 back on YouTube. And for those in the chamber, you're welcome to stay for the 20-minute recess. So we are now recessed until 6:30. Okay, 6:31 p.m. I'll call this meeting back to order, and thanks everyone for your indulgence. Apparently we have tech now working in chambers, and I understand that YouTube is also working for those of you joining us by live stream. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council rise and report from closed session June 2nd, 2025 at 6:31 p.m. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being not opposed, that motion's carried. Council met in closed session to consider matters that is permitted to do so under the Municipal Act and is listed on today's council agenda and the closed session resolution. The following items were considered during the closed session and may require motions as necessary. The first item was the approval of the closed session meeting minutes for our May 5th, 2025, and a procedural motion to adopt those minutes was voted on and closed, and therefore remains nothing to be done in the public session. We also dealt with a personal matter about an identifiable individual, pardon me, including municipal or local board employees, a human resources update, position recruitment and encroachment of municipal property, and a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality local board, land acquisition and negotiations update. And I have motions in front of me to receive confidential items from the closed session. First is moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council approved the confidential instructions provided to staff regarding encroachment of municipal property. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. A motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council received the staff update regarding human resources matter, doctor recruitment and land acquisition and negotiations. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And a motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council directs staff to request a minister delegation at the AMO conference re-physician recruitment. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Members of council, do you have any announcements this evening? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. Just an update on Accessibility Awareness Day. It happened on Friday. We had a good turnout in the park of people supporting the event. We had a booth from the library. Quinny Transit was there as well, showing off one of the buses. We had some good conversations with folks walking by and overall just raising awareness about accessibility needs of some of our residents in Brighton and being visible in the community. It was a good day.
Thank you for that update. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Councillor Botwell.
Thank you. Just wanted to remind everybody that June is Pride Month. The municipality held its first official flag raising ceremony gathering this morning. It was very well attended. Some people planned, some stopped by. Always nice to see people. And we had representatives there from the Justice, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Committee as well as the representatives from Parn, Homeboat Rainbow Youth, Trinity St. Andrew's Church, and Sunny Days, amongst others. So it was nice to see and hope we can continue to do that every year.
It was good. It was well attended. Also, OPP were there, Brighton Fire, staff from almost all of our departments and several members of council. So yeah, lots of guests. It was good. It was a good day. Anybody else? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. June is also National Indigenous History Month, so that we can recognize and honor the history, heritage, and diversity of First Nations, Inuit, and the Métis people.
Thank you, Councillor Rowley. And I will be reaching out to Chief Tainer something just to make sure it's okay that we fly the flag of the Mississauga Nations at some point during the month as well. I know we're committed to keeping the pride flag up for at least a week, and we will do that probably sometime around one of the Saturdays or Sundays is a specific National Indigenous Day as well, so we'll do it around that time.
That's June 21st. It's National Indigenous Peoples Day.
There you go. So we'll try to do it around that time to incorporate it all together. Thank you. Councillor Wright.
I just wanted to mention that I have been hearing some excitement over the grants to do with the community improvement plan. So staff, be aware, there's probably some good stuff coming your way.
That's good news. CIPs hardly ever generate excitement, so it's nice to hear. Any other, go ahead.
Wednesday night kickoff of concerts in the park in support of the food bank this week. And then the next few Wednesdays will be supporting sunny days. So yeah, hopefully we'll have good weather. It doesn't sound super great for Wednesday, but one thing that we do now too, the committee has Thursdays will always be the rain date. So if Wednesday doesn't work, show up Thursday.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? I have a couple of announcements. June, our schedule changes a little bit for council. So as a reminder to members of council and the public, there is no meeting next Monday. Our council planning meeting is on the 16th and our regular, quote, quote, regular council meeting will be on the 23rd. So no meeting next week to accommodate for some staff conference time. I had the opportunity to attend the Federation of Canadian Municipalities last week for 4 days. Some really good sessions. Interesting to hear our new Prime Minister speak to the communities. Had a lot of good things to say around housing. Lots of dough being rolled out. Hopefully, it actually manifests itself into real housing opportunities for people coast to coast to coast. So we'll see how that all works out and how the machinery of government flows money. That's always a big concern. And also on Wednesday, the Brian Todd Memorial Community Fund has their annual AGM, I guess it is, but it's when they provide the grants from their fund. It's also the day they're turning the keys over to the municipality for the hops barn. So if it is raining and concerts are canceled, hops barn is covered. So come on down to that. Whichever one you want, please attend one or both if you can. Any other announcements? Brings us to adoption of the minutes with a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council adopt the May 20th, 2025 council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening, which brings us to delegations and presentations. Council will hear 2 presentations this evening. Presenters have 15 minutes to provide council with their information. It is noted that language, content, and conduct must always remain respectful. Council will be provided with an opportunity to ask questions of clarification from the presentation representatives based on the information that they have presented. Council is reminded that this is not an opportunity to engage in debate with the presenters nor advance a public policy position. Presenters are reminded that council does not make decisions during the presentation portion of tonight's meeting. Our first presentation comes from Peter Deshane and Scott Berry of Northumberland County. Mr. Hagerman from Brighton, a combined presentation on the upcoming reconstruction of County Road 64 and Prince Edward Street, and the robust communication plan that will take place. I added that part, Scott. That was just for you. Mr. Deshane, Mr. Berry, Mr. Hagerman, please join us. We'll stay there. You're good.
Good.
And that will rise or fall as you feel comfortable doing so. There's a button somewhere on there for you.
This one?
The actual podium.
Look at that.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a pleasure to be here tonight and meet with you and council and talk about County Road 64, the exciting project that we have about to take place. So as you know, this is a collaborative effort between the county and the Municipality of Brighton. We've been working closely together over the past few years to complete the design, and now we're ready to go to construction, which will be a multi-year project. So 2025 and 2026. It's going to include the replacement of underground infrastructure like sanitary sewers, water main, and storm sewers. Some of the storm sewer will be new as some of the ditches get filled in to accommodate sidewalk and things like that. It also includes new and/or upgraded sidewalks, installation of pedestrian crosswalks. There will actually be 4 of them now. So one at Elizabeth Street, one at Richardson, one at Butler, and one at Stephen. There'd be some intersection improvements and traffic calming measures such as narrowed lanes. So that would be where the curb would narrow in. And of course, full asphalt replacement. As you all are probably know, last year we completed successfully the rural section of County Road 64 between Harbor and Stony Point Road. That was a very successful project. There were some challenges during the startup, some commitment from the contractor, which resulted in multiple different communications. But nonetheless, it was a successful project in the end. We ended up with new asphalt, new paved shoulders, turtle nesting ground as well. And there were really minimal issues that were raised by residents and businesses. And just a few photos there. As you can see, the middle photo there is the turtle nesting ground. And then we can also see that the paved shoulders and the roadway itself there. And I'm going to turn it over to Bill Linnan now.
Director Linnan, I didn't name you in my list, so welcome, of course.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. So just want to kind of reiterate a bit of what Peter said about collaboration. It's been an excellent team to work with at Northumberland County, both from a design and construction perspective, as well as communication and public awareness. They've been really great, Peter and Scott's teams to work with. Based on my experience in other municipalities, this is a fantastic approach to a construction project. So I'm very proud to be part of it. As far as the urban section goes, there'll be rehabilitation of sewers and water mains, as Peter mentioned. The project itself runs from Harbor Street to Elizabeth Street, on-road bicycle lanes in both lanes, both directions. Sidewalks, some sidewalks will be rehabilitated, some will be new. Again, the cross-section, the urban cross-section with asphalt, curb and gutter, and sidewalks will be extended south where there's existing ditches and culverts. So that's where a lot of the new sidewalk and new water mains and sewer will be added. Traffic calming, again, Peter mentioned the bump out of the curbs. Those are efforts to reduce the speed of traffic in the urban areas, as well as dedicated turn lanes. And then grading improvements. Now, because of the elevation of the road, there might be some impacts to adjacent properties, but we're dedicated to work with the property owners to make those impacts as minimal as possible. So this slide shows phase 1 of the project. So it's Prince Edward Street, closed at Harbor and at Cedar. The yellow and black line indicates the planned detour route on Harbor and Cedar. This is a very lengthy part of the project, so it's going to start very shortly in the next couple of weeks and run to the end of August. It is a full road closure on Prince Edward to accommodate the significant amount of work that needs to be done there. And the next slide. After that work is done in August, starting in September and into October, the next phase is from Stephen Street to Loyalist Drive, as you can see where the road closed section is. Again, the detour route is identified. We understand that detouring traffic from a busier road like Prince Edward onto residential streets will be a concern. We've addressed similar concerns on other projects, and we'll do our best to do that here as well. One thing we will be implementing is the radar speed signs that we have on some roads in both directions, and set that up in advance of switching to the next phase. We're hopeful that's helpful, but we will be prepared to address any of those concerns as they arise. And just quickly, there's some images here in the upper right-hand corner. It shows a sidewalk at an intersection with the tactile warning plates for pedestrians. It might not look exactly like that, but that's the concept. The image below that is a really good image. It shows a sidewalk, grass boulevard, cycle lane, and driving lanes. That's the cross-section we'll expect to see on this road. The grass boulevard may not be that wide in all locations, but something similar to that. And then to the left is an image, a depiction of a pedestrian crossover, as Peter mentioned, there'll be 4 of those as part of this project. And the goal there is to improve pedestrian safety and some key crossing points across Prince Edward. Excellent. And now I'll turn it over to Scott for the public awareness and education piece.
Thank you. As you heard last year, we were successful with the rural section, and it was a good test bed for us in terms of communications. But the reality is this time it is far more complex in terms of its work, and it's going to be much greater impacts to our residents and broader community. So I apologize on behalf of Bill and Peter. You are going to receive calls. So I'm going to ask you to help assist us in being ambassadors, to educate yourself on the project to the best of ability, because you're going to have constituents calling. So we're going to really rely on all of council to assist us in this endeavor. So tonight I'm going to share with you some of our plans. Hope that this will help bring some understanding, but rest assured there are contacts for your residents to reach out to. We've got two-way communications built up, and we're going to work very hard to help build as much strong awareness and education as possible. So partners in arms, and to also talk around the theme of collaboration. Really appreciate the support of Brighton staff. We've been really working at the hip for a number of months, recognizing the enormity of the job before us and the critical role that communications will play as we move forward. We're hoping to assure the community that this is short-term disruption, but it is for long-term community benefit. It is a very large sort of once-in-generational project, but we need to keep in mind what we're going to have as a community and the strength that we're going to have. So we've got a campaign entitled A Better Road to Ahead. I think it kind of speaks a bit to a recognition, acknowledgement of some of the short-term frustrations we'll have, but also to recognize that this is for a much bigger endeavor down the road for a much better improvement for our community and growth in our area. So, and we're going to have to really rely on our residents' patience and support for this effort as we will. Thanks. As I mentioned, complex work, greater impacts. So this is our plan, A Better Road Ahead, about the revitalization. We do recognize that it's going to impact residents on roads where they're closed in terms of their ability to access their dwellings, how we work with them, but it's also going to have an impact on the near site residents around the traffic that's going to be diverted in those areas and some of the residential areas, and the seasonal influx of traffic as well along these main arteries. So there's going to be a key need for timely, transparent, and accessible information. We built a very robust website with lots of Q&As and questions that residents may have, and that'll continue to grow and build as we go along. Next slide, please. So we need to clearly inform residents about the scope and the timelines and the disruptions that are going to occur. Last Thursday, Peter and Bill received sort of final confirmation of a more detailed, granular schedule, which we'll start to share with the public very shortly. But in broad strokes, you kind of saw the chunks of the work that needs to occur. We're going to work very collaboratively with our contractor. Anytime there are modifications to the schedule or impending disruptions, that we're in ability to quickly be nimble to effectively communicate those as well as in advance as possible, and really try to work to reinforce this trust through visible, timely communications. I would hope by now, next slide please, you've started to see some of the communications that we began late last week. And one of our first activities that we're hosting with Brighton is an information session. This will be an opportunity for those residents that will be impacted, coming down, pulling out the maps, point to their place. Yes, I have a tree. What will happen to my tree? We're in a position to get very detailed conversations about individual property owners and what the work ahead will look like. Today, we physically, manually delivered personal letters to each of those impacted residents. And those letters were also specially tailored depending on their property and the kind of impact that may be, for example, to the roadway or to their driveway if they had interlocking bricks, for example, or if they have a tree. Does that tree need to be removed? How will we protect their gardens or their trees? So some very specific letters that were tailored individually that we've gone through to look at each individual resident, because some will have different impacts than others. So I'd encourage council members to come out to learn more. Save and accept having a quorum, but maybe you time yourself around coming out. So there's mobile signs that are coming out. We've got flyers, newsletters tomorrow. Ben and Morgan will be issuing through their newsletter subscription, both print and e-flyers. There's radio that we've going. So we're hoping for a good turnout on Thursday and a good opportunity to meet again with those residents. You'll recall a year ago when we had our public information sessions, we had a strong turnout. We really received a lot of feedback from residents. We incorporated a lot of those recommendations into our plans. We're really pleased and proud about the plan that we're putting together. So we're looking forward to sharing some of that information as well. And then we've got the Sustain campaign that'll be timed in synchronization with the chunks of this work that we just described and talked about. We've got a good explanation video that we're releasing this week as well. There's flyers and posters. Brighton also had good success drawing upon their best practices around individual door knockers that actually get hung on residents' doors. We'll be doing that. Flyers, mail drops. And we've got some plans too, using some of your summer students to do little video updates and keeping people informed. So we're actually kind of looking forward. We're going to have some fun, I think, with this campaign as well. And we will not be absent from this, but boots on the ground along with the hard hats and shovels as well. Next slide, please. So just to reiterate, this has been a coordinated approach. We're drawing upon the expertise of Brighton staff to know their community, to know their audience, to understand the best practices. We've invested a lot of time and energy into this and recognizing the significance of the need to properly build awareness and educate residents as we go through this duration of 4.5, 5 months ahead of us. We're going to have dedicated contact points of inquiries. So if you do get questions and calls from residents, you can immediately direct them to live people at the end of those numbers and emails to respond to their individual contacts. And we're going to have a rapid response for unexpected construction changes. So that's sort of the broad strokes of it. And welcome to take any questions. Thank you. I think that was the last slide, was it? Thank you.
Questions from members of council? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I really appreciate this presentation. Lots of good information here. I also had attended the last year's session, and a lot of the things that I had talked about at that session and said I hope that will be in there are in there. So I'm so glad to see that. You mentioned 2 stages of road replacement, but there's a lot more road there. Does that mean that the other stages are coming for next year?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So yeah, this year the focus will be between Harbour and Loyalist, and then the following year, 2026, go from Loyalist to the tracks, and then from the tracks to Elizabeth Street. When we get there, we'll provide a more detailed schedule, but for now, that's kind of the high level.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Wright.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it was mentioned, I'm not sure by which one, that there is the possibility of trees needing to come down through this process. Given the timelines of this happening between April 1st and the October timeframes, has there been any looking at the laws around the Migratory Bird Act and nests that are in those trees at that time?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Really good question. So yeah, when it comes to projects like this, anytime that there's tree removal or trimming or anything of that nature, there is a bird sweep, or what we call a bird sweep, done if it's within the timing window. I believe this area, it's April 15th is sort of the cutoff. So if you're after that, you don't require the bird sweep anymore. The nesting period is presumably over by then. But if it's required, it will be done. And we'll also meet with, as Scott said, with individual homeowners. You know, if there's a tree that's been identified that has to come out to accommodate construction, we'll talk about that. There is also a tree replacement program in the contract as well.
Just want to let you know that not all birds are done by April 15th.
Yeah, sorry, I am going off the top of my head, but certainly if it needs to be done, it will be done if it's within the timing window. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you both. Anyone else? We recently had a transportation master plan completed, and one of the recommendations was fairly significant changes to the Cedar Street, Prince Edward Street intersection. And I'm looking at Bill because I just don't know the answer to this question, or maybe Peter does. Were those changes incorporated into the original design? And if not, will they be?
field this if you want, or if you want to. Thank you, through you, Mayor. So yeah, there are changes to the Cedar Street intersection. It will be realigned to allow better traffic movements and that sort of thing. So yes, it has been incorporated in the design.
It's been an awkward intersection for the entirety of my life, so. Yes, glad to hear that. Last year, the biggest concern I heard was over traffic control on the County Road 64, the rural portion. Some very serious concerns around no traffic control being there when the workers were there. So I just want to highlight that so that we can make sure that that doesn't happen this year. A different contractor, I know, so.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, good point. There were some issues last year with traffic control, and we dealt with those as quickly as we could as soon as we became aware of them. But yeah, this is a different contractor, different scenario. The road will actually be closed in this case. For the most part, when we get to the surface works, it'll be lane reductions and that sort of thing. So we may see some issues with that, but we are in communication with the contractor about, being safe and making sure that all the traffic control plans are in place.
Brilliant. And given that traffic will be diverted onto what are primarily residential areas of our community, I'm trusting that we've been in touch with OPP and have provided them with this information so that they know that if they should choose to, and I will be in touch with OPP to encourage this, that they can provide additional enforcement and or education as needed.
Yeah, thank you, through Mayor. So certainly all emergency services will be notified of the detour routes and that sort of thing. So and speeding is at the top of our minds for sure, as you know. So we have the speed radar signs out, as Bill said. So it's certainly on our minds for sure.
The flashy signs are great. There's nothing but like a black and white vehicle that slows people down. So that's good. At the crosswalks, will the crosswalks be lit? Someone can push a button and they flash?
Yeah, so 3 out of the 4 will have the push button overhead flashing lights. So the one at Elizabeth Street will be an APS, or automated pedestrian control. So the push buttons at the lights with the flashing hand and the walks.
But the others will be those flashy ones.
That's correct.
Communication, and this was just one that hit me tonight, pardon me. Communication for people who use Brighton as a throughway to get to Prince Edward County. How are we going to make sure that they're aware that maybe Brighton isn't the best spot to go through this year, especially since they never stop at Sobeys or downtown anyway? Maybe it's okay for them to go off to Wooler in order to get to Prince Edward County this year. Next year, we'll encourage them to come into town.
Thank you, through Mayor. I can start with this, and then if Scott wants to jump in. So we've certainly given this some thought. We have a few ideas. We're actually talking to Quinte West a little bit about possibly using some of their roads, or the shared road, I should say, as a detour road to navigate that traffic outside of town, the through traffic, as you say. So we're working on that plan. And there'll be signs well in advance. And I know Scott is going to blast social media as well.
Yeah, I think Peter's addressed it. I think you're right that for those seasonal residents that really have a destination in mind, we want to encourage, hit Ontario, hit Bose, hit Stony Point. We're working with Quinte West to sort of create some visual signs and suggestions for them. Because we want to avoid adding congestion in the residential streets where it's been diverted. We're also deploying some interesting techniques around graphic mobile signs that'll be placed outside of the community as well. And we're working with the contractor and with Bill, and once we land on some decisions about making recommendations, people as they're approaching town, you might want to consider taking this route, which isn't sort of a dedicated detour route that you think of where it's signed, but before that you might think of alternate off ramps, if you will, to bypass the disruption. So yeah, good point.
Thank you. And I never discourage people from coming through Brighton ever. So it's a bizarre thing to have to say it, but I just think from a traffic flow perspective, it would be best if this year people going to a destination that's not Brighton, but using Brighton's roads to get there, this year might not be the year to do that. So anyone else have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Bubba.
Thank you, and through you to the presenters. And it kind of piggybacks on your comment about the through traffic, because I know that I have been noticing in the last few years an increase in large trucks coming through town, and considering that Applewood kind of bypass, there are several three, four 90-degree turns onto residential streets that were not built for that type of regular traffic. And we have parking on those streets, especially Stephen Street. And that corner at the bottom of Cedar turning onto Harbor, especially when you're heading west, I actually don't know if you'd get like a 53-foot trailer around that corner. So how does that work?
Thank you, through Mayor. That's a really good question, and certainly one that we've thought about. And one of the reasons why we're looking to Quinte West, as Stony Point Road is kind of one of I say detour route, but it's to divert the heavy truck traffic away from the downtown residential streets. Because you're right that they're not built for accommodating that heavy truck traffic. The Cedar Harbor Street intersection, there is currently a concrete curb island, which will be removed for the construction period so that the trucks can navigate that corner should they happen to come down that way.
Go ahead.
Thank you again. As a quick follow-up, it hasn't happened in a few years, but Bowes Road has a CN bridge over top of it, and trucks have been caught there. I don't know if you're aware of that one. So I would hope that while encouraging to use these large, or encouraging trucks to use these large, encouraging these large trucks to use alternate routes, that we would specifically flag not to use Bowes Road, even though that is where Waze or whatnot is going to want to send them.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we've chosen Stony Point Road. We know it's a surface treated road, but it is the best route because of that bridge. So we're trying to avoid Bowes Road because of that bridge. So we'll sign it appropriately so that trucks know they shouldn't go that way.
They can get through, but they lose their route.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they have to deflate their tires
Yes.
to get out.
It's not a good situation.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying for everybody, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I was having this conversation with our friends at CN at a conference recently, and talking about our impact by two railroads that come through our community in close proximity. And it's and he was like, "Oh yeah, you're in the Southern Ontario corridor, right." So he gets it, right? I mean, we see a train come through Brighton every 15 minutes, and that's, a truck hits that bridge and they stop.
Yeah.
Because we have to now make sure that the bridge is okay. So, anyone else? Thank you. Thank you all.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council received the presentation from Peter Deshane, Scott Berry, Northumberland County, Bill Linnen, Municipality of Brighton, regarding the upcoming reconstruction of County Road 64 and Prince Edward Street. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. The next presentation comes from the Northumberland Intermunicipal Taskforce on Housing and Homelessness. With us is Port Hope Councillor Todd Attridge. And you're supposed to be joined by others, Todd, but you're all by yourself, so I'll just turn the floor over to you.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I was supposed to be joined with Councillor Holloway Wadhwani and Anthony Dew, but unfortunately they were pulled away. So Mayor, Council, and staff, thank you so much for having me. I'll apologize ahead of time. I'm getting over some laryngitis, so you won't enjoy my normal killer radio voice, but I'll do my best to get us through this. So tonight, what I want to do is at a very high level, be able to share with you the work that's being done with the Intermunicipal Taskforce on Housing and Homelessness. And we have a small ask at the end of this. So some great work is being done. Bit of background, you folks would have received a copy of the report that came out of a workshop that was hosted by the Intermunicipal Task Force on Housing and Homelessness. For a little bit of context on the task force itself, it is represented by members of council from all of the lower tiers in Northumberland. It comes together at a monthly rate, and the idea behind it is to try and figure out what are the ways in which we can expedite housing and take care of people who are underhoused or unhoused and the municipality. What we ended up doing in February was we decided that we were going to hold a workshop where we brought together 7 stakeholder groups, and we had about 7 or 8 people from each stakeholder group represented across all the lower tiers. And the stakeholder groups, as you can see up on the screen here, developers and builders, real estate agents, lenders, municipal planners, municipal building officials, and elected officials. The idea behind this was to trying to figure out what are the pain points and the solutions that housing development has across the spectrum. The first half of that day was putting people into their stakeholder groups so that they could actually sit and talk about all the pain points. And as you can imagine, it's easy when we are with the people that we spend the most time with to be able to come up with all of the problems that we face. And so that first half was really about what are the pain points from each of those stakeholder groups. The second half of that day took a bit of a different slant where we broke all the stakeholder groups apart and we put them into groups where each stakeholder group was represented at a table to then listen to those problems and then start to identify the possible solutions. And it's really quite a wonderful thing when you can sit there and listen to people talk about the things that they're going through, the pain that they're going through when they're trying to do good things. And then it suddenly comes up in your head, I actually have a solution to that. And so the conversations that went around those tables was really quite inspiring, because what happened was people, for the first time in many cases, were able to sit together and match pain to solution. The result of that was that we ended up having a report that was distributed across all of the lower tiers so that all councils and planners could see it. And of course, everyone who attended in that workshop was there as well, or got a copy as well. If you could, next slide, please. What I want to draw your attention to is some of the key recommendations. So I highly recommend, if you haven't already, please read the report. The report is actually really well written. The recommendations are really quite fulsome. But what you'll see up here is there's 4 primary recommendations that come out of this, one of which is around increasing the flexibility in municipal planning. And what came out of this was really around this notion of as of right. So in the Planning Act, there is a phrase called as of right, which is really around permission, pre-approvals. And it sits there in some cases, a very small segment of the Planning Act and zoning bylaws. And so the question kept being asked, what if the as of right was extended? How much more can we extend as of right to give permission to move forward so that we can be doing development quicker and in line with the strategic plans that the municipality and the county have? How can we simplify our zones and our zoning bylaws to make it easier for people to understand? And one of the other big ones that came out of this was the notion of delegated authority. How much of this can we give to staff to delegate that authority so that people don't need to come to council, try and get onto our schedules, have us debate things when we actually have the experts in the room? So those were really the key points that come out of increased flexibility in municipal planning. The second bucket of that, as you can see up there, is around strengthening communication in the planning process. A lot of people came forward saying it would be really great to be able to know ahead of time, what the process is in a very plain language fashion. Not only as builders and people who are new to our communities, but even community members who are looking to build, additional residential units or trying to expand their own homes, instead of having to navigate the language. How can we explore digital ways and AI in ways that can make the process a little bit easier to understand? And of course, how do we strengthen public communication and awareness of what is going on and what is possible inside our municipalities? The third bucket on the screen is explore opportunities for countywide standardization. Some of the members who joined us there from different stakeholder groups had shared stories about how it's so different from one municipality to another municipality to another municipality that in many cases, developers would be very happy to be building across the entire county, but you have to start over again depending on which municipality you're in, and the rules can be quite different. So are there some standardizations that we can do across all the lower tiers, just so that if we wanted to do building and a builder said, yes, I do want to have a larger development across many lower tier municipalities, is it possible to be able to do that to make that less friction? What are the things that we can be doing at county? Are there some synergies at the county level that we can be doing for the lower tiers? And I'll note that county council is already looking at shared services around some of this. So some of that work is already taking place. What are some of the more consistencies that we can put forward, whether it's in the way in which we inspect buildings, the way in which we approve applications? Can we make it so that Northumberland as a whole is easier and more welcoming for housing development at all levels and across the entire spectrum? The fourth bucket here is streamlined processes for repeat development. So again, we heard many stories where developers might come in, and even if they're doing just a single property, or maybe they're doing a couple of properties on a piece of land, each time they want to do another one, they have to start the process over again, which can be expensive and cumbersome, even if they're using the exact same plan. And so the question came up, if I'm just using the same plan on a very similar piece of property, why do I have to start the process over again? Also, the question came up around, what if there was a menu of pre-approved plans, especially in light of some of the federal money that's coming through in modular housing? If we had a pre-approved menu around designs, modular housing, garden suites, that all you have to do as a lower tier is approve that design, then we know that when it comes forward, it can speed through the process much quicker. And the final thing, there's creating a registry of trusted partners. This is around builders that are local and other trusted partners, because the more we see these people over and over again, the more that they have done work, the more that we have trusted the projects that they've done. Should they not get some credit for that? Is there some way of being able to move that along because they've already done some good work in the municipality? Next slide, please. So the next steps as to where we're at as a task force is we're sequencing priorities. And the reason why we actually labeled this sequencing priorities instead of just setting priorities is because everything is a priority, but they may not be the same priority in the same order. And so what are the opportunities that we see are more timely? And recognizing that, next year we're going to be heading in towards an election year. What's the stuff, the low-hanging fruits that as councils we can get things approved before we start, seeing the sunset on this term of council? What are the most likely impact, the things that are going to have the highest amount of impact for the lowest amount of effort on getting housing done? How do we identify those? What are the things that align with the work that's already being done, recognizing that every lower municipality is already doing good work in this area, and not everyone is in the exact same spot as each other. Let's meet each municipality where they're at and build on the good work that is already being done. What's most enthusiastic for each municipality? We also want to make sure that we recognize that each municipality has its own identity. So it's not about bleeding everything in so that the identities are lost, but the work that is being done in these municipalities, we want to make sure is being upheld and move forward. But at the same time, what are the ways in which we can come together to move things along much quicker? And of course, we're moving towards official plans. So these conversations are obviously quite timely. What are the certain things that need to be included or need to be weighted on based on the official plan? And the second part of this as we move forward is determining the responsibility. And we have lots of people that we can turn to for help and responsibility. In one case, it can be the county. At what point should the county be the bearer of the responsibilities, and how do we call upon them? Are there recommendations, common agreements that we can make across all of our lower tier municipalities? And we enshrine that just to make things a lot easier, and we can communicate that out to developers and social housing and people who are actually trying to build this stuff. Are there recommendations that are best addressed in the official plan? And of course, As a task force, we're at your service. The role of the task force, we have no official mandate. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of this is really to share and collaborate and look for opportunities in which we can move things forward on behalf of all citizens in Northumberland County. Next slide, please. So I'm here. I have an ask. You'll see in the delegation notes that we did include a motion, which we are asking for adoption at the appropriate time. I won't take you through all the whereases. I've been on that side of the bench. I know how this rolls. But if we can go to the next slide, I will take you to the good stuff, which is the and that's. And so on the and that's, there's essentially three things that we are looking for. First of which is we're asking, and this is in plain language, I'll let you read through the legalese at your leisure, but we're really asking for municipalities to take the smallest next step, which is to engage, which is to ask planning staff, senior planning staff, and CAOs to join a meeting that'll be hosted at the county level to come together, talk about the actions that have been taken, talk about the next steps that can be taken, align. And the idea is to really shift from can we to how can we. And so then the second and that is really to consider the recommendations that came forward in the report while you're going through your official planning. Make sure you've read them. Please keep them in mind. Build them in where you feel that they're appropriate so that we can start getting this already put into the official plan as you move forward. And our final and that is that you show your support for the work that the task force is doing by simply writing a letter and sharing it with the lower tier municipalities, saying that you are in support of the work that the task force has been doing, and you support the collaborative approach in which we are taking it in. So thank you very much, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Councillor Attridge. We appreciate all the information you provided for us, and to you as well, Councillor Wheeldon, for the work that you and your team is doing. It's refreshing to see folks from Brighton to Port Hope and Rice Lake to Lake Ontario working together. So keep up that good work. It's not just good work for housing, it's a good example for us all. Questions from members of council? Councillor Wheeldon.
I just want to add one additional thing to this is that we have since, through Northumberland County, submitted a request for a delegation to talk to the minister at AMO. And it would be really great, wearing my task force hat for a second here, to be able to tell the minister that every lower tier municipality has passed this motion. That would be wonderful.
So I should say that part of the motion to receive does have us referring this motion to the June 23rd meeting. So it would be discussed and theoretically passed if that's the route we go down well before the AMO conference. Any other questions? Sorry, Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think this question is maybe for, may I ask the planner a question?
You can ask your question and I'll determine who will answer.
Okay, that's good. I'll just ask a question because you spoke about official plans, obviously. And I have an idea that we've already had some of that discussion about homelessness and housing solutions in our official plan or coming up in an amendment shortly. Am I correct on that?
Director Walsh.
Through the Mayor to Council, I think that some of our discussions on dealing with homelessness wasn't necessarily coming through the official plan route, so much as some other bylaw options. But yeah, we have been discussing some of those things. Yeah.
As has the task force on, what are we called? The Brighton Homelessness Task Force is also moving down that road as well for those discussions. Councillor Wright.
I was just going to say, like, this seems like a no-brainer to me, and I'd be happy to see this pass tonight. But if we're bringing it on the 23rd, I'm happy to wait.
Procedurally, we're not supposed to deal with anything coming from it.
Right.
We need to let it percolate.
It's percolating.
Is there a reason we can't bring it to the 16th? The planning makes a lot of sense to do that. So Councillor Rowley is the mover and the deputy mayor is the seconder. We'll get there and I'll ask if the 16th works for you guys. Any other questions for the delegate? Thank you, Councillor Attridge. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So there are a couple of changes, Councillor Rowley and Deputy Mayor. One, of course, is that it's only Councillor Attridge who presented, so we'll remove the other names. And are you okay with moving referring the motion to the June 16th Planning Council meeting? You are? Deputy Mayor, are you okay with that? Ron, are you okay with doing that? Yeah. Moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council received the presentation from the Northumberland Intermunicipal Taskforce on Housing and Homelessness. Councillor Todd Attridge, co-chair, regarding the Housing Solutions Workshop report and the next steps in actioning the recommendations of the report, and further that the proposed council motion be referred to the June 16th Council Planning meeting for consideration. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you again, Todd. And you're welcome to stay. Understood. Madam Clerk, are there any citizens' comments for us to consider this evening? Well, that brings us to staff reports. First report is reconstruction of County Road 64 cost sharing agreement with Northumberland County. Mr. Gooding is not here. Director Lennon, do you have anything to add or highlight, sir?
Nothing to add at this time.
You have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council authorized the Chief Administrative Officer to execute a cost sharing agreement with the County of Northumberland for the reconstruction of County Road 64 Prince Edward Street. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. Just reading it quickly. This is for the total cost of the reconstruction up until the end of next year, as far as coming all the way to Elizabeth Street, correct?
Director Lennon.
Through the mayor, that is correct. That's the total cost of the entire project.
Thank you both. Just by way of information, this same motion came to the Public Works Committee at the county today and was passed. So council will consider this, county council will consider this motion middle of the month. I anticipate that it will move forward as well. It's an important project for both the county and the lower tier. Anything further? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is with regard to tender PW 2025-07, 2025 to 2026 surface treatment. Manager Blatensky, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I would. I would just like to take note in the provision section of the tender, we had a cost of fog sealing the roads at $1.55 per square.
What does that mean to us? You know, just people who drive cars on roads and stuff.
Just an extra layer on the road.
So it protects it for a little bit longer?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, between 1 to 3 years, depending on the classification of road.
Excellent, thank you. Motion is moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council approves tender PW 2025-07 award to the Miller Group in the amount of $1,137,449.86 for the procurement of surface treatment road maintenance applications for the years of 2025 and 2026. The municipality may exercise the right to renew with the same contractor in 2027 and 2028, with rates and locations to be negotiated at that time, and executed by way of a change order under this contract. Is there any discussion? Councillor Butwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does this mean that this means that we don't go back out to get additional quotes at the end of the 2-year period? Is that how I'm understanding it?
I would suggest that depends on what the rates come back as, but it gives staff the ability to not go to tender if the rates come back at a reasonable amount.
Okay, and how does staff determine what is a reasonable amount?
Well, that one I'll turn over to Manager Platansky for an answer.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Butwell. A couple of factors that we would determine that it would determine on the asphalt cost for that year. Surface treatment would be, depending on aggregates, emulsions, depending on what those variable rates are. And we would look at that and see, okay, well, for example, And during COVID years, we didn't retender because we got a better price compared to retendering. So it would determine a couple of factors.
Follow up?
Follow up, yeah. So is that broken down in a price, a cost per square foot? How, again, how is that determined? It's like, I understand there are certain factors, but what are the, so there's the actual cost of the aggregate, and then do you include a markup per square foot for their actual profit in doing so? And how would you determine whether we need to go back out to tender? Where's that threshold line? Like, is it just like a gut feeling how the relationship has gone with these people, or because there's a bit of a variation here, and obviously it's easier to just re-sign with somebody because it doesn't require us going through the process. But what if that particular group is no longer the least expensive? How would we know that?
Manager Platensky.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we would look at, the quality of work, one. We'd also look at, the cost of the aggregate, two, as well, and the emulsions. And also, when we're looking at surface treating roads, it also depends on, true enough, the relationship it is. Like, how is the warranty? Are they more able to work with us with warranty compared to not, right? So there's different factors when it comes to the relationship, the costs, and everything. When you have an option to retender, you would look at it from those points.
Quick follow-up, just to understand that that option to retender. When does that kick in? Is that like a 6 month prior to the expiry of the current contract? Do you know what I mean? So if we have a 2-year agreement in place, at which point do you go, when do we decide if we want to look at retendering outside, or when do you have those discussions? Is there like a window that is set within the contract? Because we obviously don't see the contracts at this table.
Manager Platensky.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so we would look at the end of the contract. So once they were done that year, so for example, 2026, once they were completed the work, we would review the work at that point and then see if it would be something we'd want to retender again, or if it's something we'd consider of giving them the option. Now, this process is very normal within a lot of municipalities, not just Brighton, where some contracts actually have 5 years with a 2-year option, right? It just gives it that extra extension compared to going back to tender, because sometimes with contractors, we would get a better rate compared to retendering. So for example, in 2024 and 2023, with negotiations with the contractor, we were getting actually better rates than if we went to retender.
So a better rate than had they had to go through the entire process. So it ends up being like a blended rate to some degree. Like, it's not necessarily the new rate. It's not definitely never the old rate, but it's somewhere in between to account for the ease in which it would be. Does this, the timeline of, additional follow-up question?
You
may. Does the timeline of the proposed asphalt production and moving the Fidelity facility that may or may not locate itself along, is it Telephone Road in Crammy? Would that, I just don't remember what the timeline is. Does that bring us into when a local?
I think that's up to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Didn't
Yeah.
the township, Crammy Township, turned that down.
Yes, I don't recall what the timeline was on that. Because we may have somebody super local,
Yeah,
we're like local.
A bit of a moot point until the
Okay.
OLT rules, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Never mind. Thank you very much for your answers. I understand a bit better.
Anyone else? I had one, but I lost it in the conversation. I was enthralled by your line of questioning, Councillor Botwell. Yeah, true story. I'm not being facetious at all. Actually, I'm not. I know I may sound like I am, but I'm not. Just give me 10 seconds if I can think of it. We're closer in age than you'd like to admit. Oh, it's gone. If I think about it, if we do go to the extension, the 2027, 2028 extension, that information would come back to council as a report, I assume.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is tender PW 2025-04 half-ton pickup truck and 3/4-ton pickup truck. Manager Blatensky, do you have anything to add or highlight to this report?
No, not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council approve the award of tender PW 2025-04 to Scott Drummond Motors in the amount of $136,428.49, net of HST rebate, for the procurement of 1 half-ton pickup truck and 1 3/4-ton pickup truck. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is the Brighton Drinking Water System DW QMS Management Review Report 2024. Director Lennon, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council receive the Brighton Drinking Water System DW QMS Management Review Report for the period of January to December 2024 for information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
I just want to say congrats to our team on 100% compliance rate. That's fantastic. Very good news to know that our drinking water is safe. And since everyone around this table is liable for that, special thanks to our team.
Hear, hear. Anything further from members of council? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is membership agreement with Quinte Economic Development Commission. Manager Hagerman, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council authorized the membership agreement with the Quinte Economic Development Commission for economic development services as outlined. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. The next report is the mobile canteen bylaw variance. Bylaw Enforcement Officer McGee, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receives the staff report dated June 2nd, 2025, being a request for a variance to permit 2 mobile canteens at Codrington Park, and that council directs staff to permit a second mobile canteen operation in the name of Dennis Gould and Brad Gordon for the purposes of a mobile food truck at the location of the Codrington Park to be situated on site to the satisfaction of the Director of Infrastructure Operations and Recreation and Northumberland County staff, and that the permit be for the period of 1 year during which staff will monitor any safety-related or orderliness issues, but with eligibility for renewal in accordance with the satisfaction of the Director and Northumberland County. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is policy review, accountability and transparency, sale and other disposition of land, tree canopy and natural vegetation policies. And Madam Clerk, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that council receive the staff report from the clerk's department regarding policy review, and further that council approve the accountability and transparency policy, sale and other disposition of land policy, and the tree canopy and natural vegetation policy as presented. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wright.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just have one question regarding the purchase of surplus lands. What happens if one or more or all neighbors of the surplus lands decline to purchase those lands? Are there policies and procedures in place in regards to the maintenance of those lands? Is there like a standard of care? What happens to that land at that point?
Director Walsh.
Through the mayor to Councillor Wright, what is the context of that particular question? And there's some road allowance references in the policy, and there's some other more general lands that are questioned there?
Yeah, so if there's surplus lands and there's neighbors abutting and they're offered to purchase the land, whether it's one or two or possibly, who knows, three. If all those neighbors decline to purchase those surplus lands, it would remain surplus. What happens to the land at that point? It's going to remain surplus, but is there a standard of care in terms of maintenance of that property?
To the mayor, not that I'm aware of. I don't think it depends on location. I mean, we do have some care if it's, we should be honoring our own, weeds control bylaw,
Right,
for
okay.
example, and things like that. So there is some onus put upon ourselves through our own standards. But other than that, no, if it's in the back 40, then it's it's their growing trees and with no real obligations to municipality or liabilities of that nature.
Okay, I was just curious about if it was like in a setting with houses, homes, if that chunk of land would just be kind of left to go wild, or would it be maintained for like grass length kind of thing to keep tick population down, that kind of thing?
Sure, that that is a good question, and it has been an issue in other places in the past. Won't name particular locations or streets, but yes, there are some locations that we've had to get the help of Public Works in to clean up some of the yards, the old road allowances and things like that. And so there is a bit of a duty of care there when you own land, for sure. And a lot of these unused properties, particularly old road allowances, they're commonly used for bell and hydro services and drainage routes that are shared by a number of property owners, and we don't want to see those disrupted. So when we're considering a request to close up and declare surplus a road allowance, for example, those are the things we look for through a site inspection, make sure there aren't these maybe passive public benefits that are very tangible.
So I think the general answer is we have a duty of care for the lands that we own, regardless of whether we've offered them for surplus and not been sold or what have you. And there are varying degrees of how we maintain those lands depending on where those lands are. So if they're in the middle of the north part of the community where we would expect it to be forested, we allow those road allowances to be forested. But if there's a road allowance across the road from Councillor Wheeldon, as an example, there would be an expectation that we would maintain it to some level anyway, and I think we do. So go ahead, Councillor Wheeldon.
My impression, and I've wondered if I'm correct, but I'm pretty sure that my neighbors mow that land and treat it as a yard extension. So it's kind of fair play that they take care of it and then they get to park their stuff on it.
We just ignore it. Life is good until something happens. CAO, did you have a comment?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think you touched on it just with regards to surplus. Normally, we wouldn't have surplus land unless somebody requested to purchase, and that would be the time we would declare it. But even if it's declared surplus or not, we have the same liability on the property.
Anything further on the motion? All in favor? And being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is the CAO ongoing report and capital projects. CAO, do you have anything to add or highlight on your report?
No, Mr. Mayor, I do not.
I have a motion moved by, thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that the council receive the CAO ongoing report and capital projects update for information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley?
A couple, 21 Kingsley demolition, early spring. We've kind of passed early spring. Still waiting to take that down. Are we waiting for a tender or something?
CAO.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Rowley. We did have some discussions early on about whether or not there was anything that was salvageable from the building. So we've had some discussions about how we might be able to still utilize some of the items within the home. And at the time when we finally got all that information, we decided we probably should wait till the fall, just not to disrupt the park during the spring and summer events. So we're going to hold off till the fall.
Thank you. Could we update that on your report, please? Thank you. Anything further? You had a couple you said, Councillor Rowley.
Well, yeah, again, ASE, we're getting close. I read here bylaw, but beside bylaw or beside it's blank. Where are we ready to roll with this ASE?
I believe we are. We're just waiting for the time period to go by that we're required to provide notice to by the MTO to the traveling public,
Okay.
which expires on July 14th-ish,
I think,
at which
yeah, I
point
think
the
it's
cameras
14.
go live, but I will ask the director to confirm or deny my comment.
Okay.
You're right on, Mr. Mayor. The July 14th is the start date. And we're just in the process of getting equipment, the photocopy equipment essentially in place. Staff are being given orientation on the use of the processing software. Everything's on schedule in that regard. So those are the two main thrusts right now. And we have a pretty good website set up to address any frequently asked questions. And that's been useful when people call. We direct them that way. And we don't tend to hear back from them. So I think it's doing the job. I think that answers the question.
I think so. Councillor Rowley.
I have one or two other questions about ASE, but I think I will just maybe pick up the phone and speak with the director at some point.
Fair enough. Anything else on the report? Okay. Is there anything further for members of council? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. There are no notices of motions or motions. There's nothing listed under unfinished business. We have no bylaws to consider this evening, which brings us to reports and minutes of advisory committees of council review teams and the mayor's report. The first is Community Events Advisory Committee meeting minutes, April 1st and May 13th. Councillors Rowley and McCausland are our reps. Do either of you have anything to add or highlight on these minutes? Councillor Rowley.
I don't think that we do, Councillor McCausland. I think if you look at some of the action items, you can see that we're a very busy committee for this year.
Councillor McCausland.
Our movie, it's a Western themed movie from Movie in the Park. Oh yeah, it was a Three Amigos. Sorry, there was a big discussion about it. And I don't remember the date, but it is in the minutes.
We look forward to it. Bring your boots indeed. Which minutes is it in? Do we know? When did you discuss it? In April or May? May
13th. Yeah.
Is a good movie. We're just gonna see if we can find the date so we can say it out loud.
It's in August.
August 16th. August 16th. It's not going to rain. Life will be good, and everyone can watch Three Amigos in Memorial Park. Look forward to it. Bring your cowboy attire. I guess I should read the motion, right? Moved by Councillor Wright, second by Councillor Butler. The council received the meeting minutes of April 1st, 2025 and May 13th, 2025 of the Community Events Advisory Committee as presented. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next is the Apple Fest Advisory Committee meeting minutes, and Councillors Rowley and Wright, you are our council reps on that. Do you have anything to note with regard to these minutes? No? A motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Butler. The council received the meeting minutes March 19th, 2025 and April 23rd, 2025 of the Apple Fest Advisory Committee as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next report is from me, the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative Conference. I announced this at council a couple of weeks ago, I think, and wanted to provide a report for council about what happened there. Some good news things that happened there too. So the motion reads, as moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Butler, the council received the report from Mayor Ostrander on the 2025 Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative Conference. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you. I appreciate the report. A lot of us go to conferences. Should we be bringing reports like this?
It wouldn't hurt. It's not necessary. There's nothing in our policies or procedures that require members of council to do so. I just think it's good for you and the public to know what I'm doing. Anything further from members of council? Councillor Rowley?
Yeah, just, it's nice to see that we are kind of connected with this now, collaborating with this group after the couple of issues from 17 and 19 with all of the flooding. So it's nice to see that we're kind of a little bit more in the loop now as this moves forward. Better for preparedness too for us.
Yeah, and that's certainly why we connected with this initiative entirely, because they connected Brighton and our surrounding neighbors with the IJC during those flooding events and helped us advocate for some changes to Plan 2014, which is now being deviated from as need be. So all good news there. This group also has some very interesting economic development drivers for people along the lakeshore, which they call the blue-green economy, and our American friends along the south shore of the Great Lakes are vesting their interest in changing the term Rust Belt to blue-green belt. So it's kind of a funny little thing that I think they want to do. They're certainly known as the Rust Belt because of the significant manufacturing levels in those states that continue to be drivers for their economy. But they also see that the lakes are not just important from getting goods to market and transporting whatever they manufacture to market, but also from a clean and resilient perspective, and that there are opportunities throughout the basin for economic development and to drive that blue-green economy. We'll see an increase in what is an $8 trillion economy in the Great Lakes Basin, which would be the third largest. If we were a nation, it would be the third largest economy in the world. So it's a good crew, a neat team. And every single committee has a Canadian and an American co-chair, so they're always making sure that everyone's being treated equally as they march down the path together. So it's a good team. Good team. Anything further from members of council? Go ahead, Councillor Ray.
Just a question, maybe this isn't the place for it, and you can always email me the answer later, but just I'm wondering, with the current impact of the federal government, how is that playing into those decision processes, and what are their concerns about being able to move those things forward?
Their federal government?
Yeah.
Well, I think you see in the report that one of the things that we did as a group was sign an anti-tariff pact. So all of these councils and mayors in the United States along this basin that are members of this team, regardless of which party they belong to, because they're still in the United States, the municipal politicians are party affiliated. I was, chatting with Democrats, I was chatting with Republicans, all of whom are anti-tariff, and they are opposed to what's happening in Washington right now, and are supportive of continuing a free and open economy with their Canadian neighbors. So I think that answers your question. Yeah. Anything further from members of council? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. That brings us to reports and minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. The first comes from the DBIA minutes of January 9th, February 13th, March 13th, and April 15th. Councillor Rowley, you are our rep on this board. Anything to highlight on any of these minutes?
I don't think I need to highlight anything maybe out of the minutes. They're pretty well self-explanatory, but please take note that the beautification is going on. Planters are up. New Canadian flags are up, and they are looking awesome, as well as the DBIA also always supports the Brian Todd Community Fund regarding the art from our youth, and nice to see. It's not all up yet, but I'm sure it will all be up pretty soon. They're working with our municipal staff to make sure all that gets done shortly.
Thank you for that. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council received the DBIA meeting minutes from January 9th, February 13th, March 13th, and April 15th, 2025 as presented. Is there any discussion? Councillor Butwell.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Rowley, I have a question just about the flags. So I noticed that the new Canadian stacked flags are out. Are they in the process of being put up too? Because I noticed Main Street on the south side didn't seem to have any.
Yeah, I don't think they're done yet. I think we can maybe ask Mr. Jefferson. He works with our municipal staff. It's getting the contractor here, I believe, is some of the work, getting it all coordinated with staff to get more of the artwork up and to get more of the flags up. They'll be up shortly.
So they're going to be like staggered? Is that? Okay. I actually took note of them on Prince Edward, south of.
Yeah, to the
guess it
railroad
was-
tracks. Yeah, they're there too.
I saw you out there very early. I believe it was Saturday morning. Looking haggard and, well, Flynn Forestry was up a pole.
I just want to bring this back in and remind people we don't engage with members of the gallery. It's not a precedent I want to start.
Well, I'm sorry then, but maybe we could ask Public Works then.
I think
Maybe.
that might be entirely
Okay,
appropriate.
maybe Public Works
Director
can tell us
Platenski.
when the contractor's coming in to complete the project on Main Street. Thank you.
Manager Platenski.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we're looking hopefully tomorrow or the following day.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I get it. I understand. It's just not a habit we want to get into. It's safe tonight, and that's all I'm going to say. You're welcome. Anything further on the motion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. The next is the Northumberland OPP Detachment Board meeting minutes. I am your rep on this board, and I guess the only information coming out of here is that we continue to work through policies and procedures as required by the Solicitor General's office for these new these new OPP detachment boards. I guess the only other news is that the detachment commander, Inspector Christy McNaughton, has left Northumberland. She has joined our neighbors in Quinte West. I have expressed my deep concern to her about that decision. But she's going to have a good time. And of course, I'm joking. I actually called Mayor Harrison, told him he's got a really great inspector now. We are joined by Acting Inspector Mike Kavanaugh, who was here with us this morning for the flag raising. So day one, he's already out supporting Brighton, and that's what we expect of our detachment commander. The motion reads, the motion is moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that Council receive the Northumberland OPP Detachment Board meeting minutes, March 21st, 2025, as presented. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Just reading your comment regarding school patrols that you made, that you're asking for more school patrols. Is this during, like, through the school year until we get through the summer? Basically around and about, or on municipal property?
Yeah, I was just seeing the stats. We're seeing them go down a little bit. So I was encouraging that we bump those up, especially as the warmer weather and the students go out and about into the community, that we would want to see OPP having those open, engaging conversations with the students, and, you know, just letting them know they're around. I think it's helpful at the end of the day. Anything further? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. It brings us to correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, and petitions. The first is a resolution of support from the town of Plimpton, Wyoming. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Wright. That council support a resolution from the town of Plimpton, Wyoming regarding the pause to Bill 5, Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act 2025. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, just a few comments. You know, I think the more that I've, watched the news, delved into Bill 5, listened to the concerns from the Indigenous community through those channels, it just, I think, behooves all of us to slow this down a bit and make sure that we're doing it right. And if supporting this helps slow it down, great. I'm not sure that it will, but here's fingers, toes, legs crossed.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Brings us to FYI correspondence. The first comes from the Halliburton, Kawartha, Northumberland, Peterborough Board of Health. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council received for information the Halliburton, Kawartha, Northumberland, Peterborough Board of Health meeting summary Wednesday, May 15th, 2025. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And from the Trent Memorial Hospital Foundation, letter of appreciation. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council received the Trent Memorial Hospital Foundation letter of appreciation and official tax receipt. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Brings us to question period. Mr. Jefferson, you're the only one in the gallery or online. Do you have any questions with anything that appeared on tonight's agenda? Thank you, sir. That brings us to our confirmatory bylaw with a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the corporation of the Municipality of Brighton Council meeting held on June 2nd, 2025. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the June 2nd, 2025 council meeting adjourn at 7:56 p.m. Oh, and I'm running out of ink. Good timing. Any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. In the words of His Majesty, King of Canada, during the recent throne speech, as the anthem says, we are indeed the true north, strong and free, and may God save the King.